Welcome to Too Hot for TV. We are the podcast that looks at the expanded universe of your favourite franchises. I'm your host, Dylan, and today I'm joined by actor and podcaster Conrad Westmaas. Hi, Conrad.
Hello, Dylan. I'm very excited. I have never, ever podcasted about Batman 66 before, which I can't believe. So I'm very excited.
Well, your luck may be in today, my friend. And also, we're joined by writer and podcaster Luke Molloy.
Hello. Yeah, great to be here. I've also never podcasted about Batman at all.
Neither have I, but this is the format. I've spoken to you both before about Doctor Who, expanded universe.
And more.
And more, much, much more. But today we're going to jump into the world of Batman, most specifically Batman 66. Although it only became known as Batman 66 much later on, it was just known as Batman at the time. Batman was an American live-action television series based on the DC comic characters of the same name, starring Adam West and Burt Ward. 120 episodes aired on the ABC network for 3 seasons from January the 12th, 1966 to March 14th, 1968. And then it was repeated forever and ever, ever across the globe, which is presumably how we all first found it. So, Conrad, we'll come to you first. I'm assuming you're a Batman 66 fan or just a Batman fan. What's your history? Tell me stuff.
The history is, I'm very old, I'm 55, and I was born in 1971. And in the UK, I just remember Batman 66, the repeats being on TV. And casting your mind back, sort of pre all the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all DC and all that stuff, it was very simple back in my day. It was very kind of universal. If you're a kid, you had a Spider-Man, Batman, maybe a Superman toy. Those were sort of the main 3, with Hulk and Wonder Woman. You had a bit of an awareness of those and some TV shows of those. Like every kid had like a Batmobile or a Spider-Man something or a Superman something. It just sort of came as standard in your kind of kids kit, really. But Batman 66, I used to really love it. And yeah, I've realised since, basically, I'm going to have to be really honest, it was really, really formative in my whole sexual development. Psychosexual development, and there's no way I can get through this podcast without sort of referring to that stuff. But in quite a serious way, I think that is the way kids sort of form their ideas of who they are, and when they're trying to work out what are men, what are women, where do I fit into all of this. It's not unusual for kids to have crushes on sort of cartoon characters and all that kind of stuff. And mine was definitely the strongest, without a shadow of a doubt, was Batman, Robin, and the Riddler. And I'll probably just draw a line under that for now.
I'm sure we'll jump into it further later on. My sexual awakening was Penny, Inspector Gadget's niece, when I was about 7 years old. And it's why I can't have sex with anyone without using lots of different gadgets.
Oh, that explains it. Yeah, I was wondering if that potato peeler last time was particularly aggressive. I'm not sure. But, you often hear, I often hear my straight blokes was like, oh, Chitara, that was the thing. Or, everyone's got their own kind of stuff. But yeah, for me, it really was them. And I really literally pieced together which way I was going from quite an early age, and it was that was the strongest one, was Batman, Robin, and the Riddler. So.
Are there a lot of riddles in your sex life?
I mean, my sex life is a riddle in itself. A, where's it gone? 3, well, I kind of have enough of it. And 3, who are those 3 boys tied up in that cupboard? I never quite got to them.
Excellent. Luke Molloy, what about you? Are you?
Sorry, I'm sat here just stressing, thinking he's going to ask me about my sexual awakening. And I can't think.
You can answer that question if you want to, but don't feel you have to.
No, I took it down a side route. There's no need to go down there. You can just go straight.
Lois Griffin?
Dear God. Batman 66. Batman in general.
Well, I think Batman 66 will have been the first one I watched. So I've got memories of, it would have been BBC 4, I think, when I was like 9, 10. Conrad's nodded, so I think I'm right. And they were on around.
I think it was Channel 4. I think Channel 4
was it. They were on around sort of tea time, and it was the cliffhangers. So I was a Doctor Who fan. I'd seen some classic Doctor Who. It was the cliffhangers that sort of got me in. And then it just very much passed for years and years and years. And then about 2 Christmases ago, I was like, I want that box set of Batman, because it was like £30 on Amazon. And I've been very, very, very slowly watching them. I mean, I've watched about 40, so about a third of the way through. So I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad. But they're quite, they're quite repetitive, but they're very fun.
Yeah.
And it was the cliffhangers that got me in, and it was the tone of it was great. And then I've always liked Batman, to be honest, and really like the Nolan ones. not so fond of Ben Affleck. I think of this about all superheroes. If the alter ego is just as fun as the superhero, then you're onto a winner. It's when the sort of Bruce Wayne is a bit boring or the Clark Kent is a bit boring that it lets the whole thing sort of down. So
Yeah.
Adam West as both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Mwah, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think my first introduction to Batman would have been Batman 66. It was on weekend mornings or maybe summer holiday mornings when I was a kid in the 80s. It soon transferred to tea times, and it was just on pretty much like once a year. They'd do a run through, it felt like, on Channel 4, BBC 2, whatever, until I was about 14 or 15. And it probably carried on after that, to be honest. I just sort of lost interest. And then when I sort of got older and had a bit more disposable income, it became a bit of a lost media because it wasn't out on DVD, as far as I know. There was all sorts of things that, I can't verify this, but people always said it was to do with the rights, with the people that popped out of the windows, the celeb cameos. And that was all done with who's on the backlot today. And so they released a few videos and stuff, but they couldn't get the rights or it was too expensive to clear the whole thing. So it just disappeared out of my life for years. And I've always loved Batman. I watch every Batman movie, all the little series they do around it, like The Penguin and Gotham. I won't watch them, but I will stick my head in for a key episode here and there just to get a flavour of it. And I've read some comics. But Batman 66 was the one that was the most present in my life as a kid. And much like you, I picked up the Blu-ray box set maybe a year after it came out or something, and I've watched them all and had an absolute riot.
What would you say for both of you? What was your first sort of like organically for your generation's Batman that your friends would have been getting into? Like, because Batman 66 was the only one we could really refer to, and there was of course there was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon version as well, and so we had that on TV, and they all kind of, this is sort of pre all branding and merchandise. So to me, like the merchandise, I've got a bit that was the sort of blue, the grey suit, blue and yellow sort of version was on all the merchandise, and you just assumed that was the TV one, and the cartoon, you're like, well, that's the same thing. And so we sort of just triangulated through those. But what was your generation's first Batman for you guys?
My one was Nolan. I remember going to the Dark Knight cinema and the cinema screening and being like, whoa, this is bloody good, this. And I had a Batman toy that was very much in that just sort of pure black, shadowy thing. And I had friends for ages telling me to check out the animated series with Mark Hamill. But as Dylan knows, and as I've said on this podcast before, not the biggest fan of animation. I don't know what it is. Just can't struggle. Might come back to that later. So struggle with that a bit. And then even the Robert Pattinson one, I wasn't too keen on that either. I think it needed a bit of fun in it. But sorry, to answer the question, yeah, it was Christian Bale's one.
The things, there's so many of them. Like when you start talking about them, I'm like, oh yeah, there's that version. It kind of, there's millions of them now.
Yeah. Well, I think because we're all of different ages here. So mine was Batman 89, and all the kids at my school, we were all so hyped for that movie. And we probably didn't see it till like 1991 because of the sort of life of a film back then, and us all being like 8 years old and not being able to go to the cinema and see it. But I remember watching that again and again as a kid. And I also remember following those 4 films, and by the third one going, oh, it's not as good. And by the fourth one going, oh, it's crap. But actually now, when I look back at the fourth one, I'm a bit like, it feels like a big budget version of the Adam West Show, so I can sort of get behind it. It is camp and silly, but in a very 90s way, and it's more in line with that. And I just think it's a big, fun spectacle, and so I've got a lot more time for it than I did when I was a critical 12-year-old or 9-year-old or however old I was when it came out.
It's interesting how it's that thing about being serious or not serious sort of swings backwards and forwards. Like some people like it campy and funny, but the move to make it dark. I remember when that 1989 movie came out, I was probably like late teens, and everyone was like, oh, it's going to be Batman, but it's going to be really dark. And it was so exciting, the fact that there'd be this dark backstory. And ever since then, it's been pretty much just relentlessly dark, in inverted commas. And, I do like the kind of more fun, campy element to it.
And then, but I'm contradictory as well, because I like it camp, but then I hate those 2 movies, the last 2 ones in the 90s, and I love the one with the penguin, it returns. So it's just completely contradictory. I've never been able to really pinpoint what makes Batman work in a way that I can do it with Doctor Who or something like that.
I do wonder after the Nolan trilogy, and especially after the failed Snyderverse, whether actually the Robert Pattinson one was the right way to go and something a bit more fun. It doesn't have to be like uber camp or something like that. But the most recent Superman film, for instance, has got sort of these shades of, it's just a lot more fun and it feels like a lot more big adventure story. And I wonder, I'm more interested in seeing the Batman in that universe than I am seeing another Robert Pattinson film. But that's just because Dark Batman, it feels, has just kind of been done, and I'm ready for something else.
And done very well. And but the strange thing about the Batman is, it seems to have got done really well. And I've watched it twice now. The second time to be like, am I missing something? And I'm not. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, it's not for me either. Fortunately, we found some other bits of Batman 66 to jump into.
Hot for TV.
So the first thing we're going to look at today is Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Burt, written by Duane Poole and directed by Paul A. Kaufman. It was broadcast on CBS on March 9th, 2003. Now, just have a little look at the landscape of media at that point, essentially, of sci-fi, of cult TV. What we had going on television was the mini-series of Battlestar Galactica. Farscape finished. Frank Herbert's Children of Dune was being broadcast. Buffy ended. And it's also the year that not only was Doctor Who announced as coming back and Scream of the Shalka was on the internet, but it's also the year that everybody's favourite sci-fi show, Moonbase 3, was set in, which was a very boring year on the moon, if you like that sort of thing. No spin-offs for that. We won't be covering anything from that. And then of the movies, we had Daredevil, The Hulk, Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolutions, X-Men 2, and Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. So that is the landscape of science fiction and superheroes at the time. A mixed bag, I would say.
I love The Matrix 2. Reloaded. I think that is a brilliant film. Not so keen on 3, but 2 is great and gets better every single time you watch.
But the Battlestar Galactica miniseries, that was, I probably came to it a little late, but I mean, God, that was absolutely amazing. Well, just going back there, that is really kind of amazing. So I remember the 90s being very sort of retro and ironic, and there's a big, just moving back to just this whole kind of kitschy pulp Jarvis Cocker vibe of everything being a little bit kitschy and funny, and and sort of just absurd and colourful and ironic in a
Cool Britannia.
Yeah, a bit of that. Yeah, and it was kind of felt very playful and fun. It wasn't being serious. But like when you just mentioned that 2003, everything you mentioned there was just like total nostalgia fest, pretty much. I mean, the Matrix films were quite new, but that's a lot. I'm just sort of shocked at how much bringing back Doctor Who, all of these things. There's quite a lot of nostalgia there. So I'm just noting my surprise at that. So, and I'm guessing this was part of all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're in that first run of superhero films before the big explosions happened. Daredevil and the Hulk and X-Men 2. Terminator 3's finally got off the ground. And yeah, it's interesting that the television stuff feels a little bit with things like Buffy and Farscape and Firefly and things like that. That felt like the end of the 90s, almost, of the sci-fi of the 90s. And I think people were looking for things new, and Battlestar Galactica was amazing, but it's got a lot to fucking answer for, because that felt to me like the beginning of everybody going, we need to make this as dark as possible. And it worked for Battlestar Galactica, but I feel like it infected everybody's idea of science fiction. And so is born the sort of fan that's like, science fiction should be dark, and it's like Russell T Davies brings Doctor Who back and goes, it doesn't have to be dark. It can be.
Hot for TV.
Adam West and Burt Ward reunite after the original Batmobile is stolen from a charity gala. As they embark on a road trip to recover it, they follow clues that send them reminiscing through flashbacks about their early careers, personal struggles, and humorous behind-the-scenes moments from the 1960s Batman TV series, encountering old friends and foes along the way. Ultimately, they discover the theft was orchestrated by a vengeful former co-star, leading to a booby-trap confrontation that they narrowly escape before the Batmobile is recovered and order is restored. Although at the last minute, the Batmobile is stolen again, and another Batcaper awaits.
Hot for TV.
Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Burt. So, Conrad, were you aware of this? Have you seen it before?
I've heard of it, but bad fan, I'd never seen it. And my sort of, I'm a funny fan with Batman. I like the ephemera of it. I like all the visual stuff. I like my toys. I just like the visual stuff of it. And I like actually watching the thing. But I'm not like, I don't have to watch every documentary or read everything. So I've heard of it, but never seen it until recently, until this time. And it's very interesting. There is a hell of a lot in there. I think it's interesting to watch. I think it's clearly aimed. Well, it's aimed for fans, but I can imagine just casual viewers who used to like Batman 66. It acts as a bit of a sort of dramatized documentary of the history of Batman 66. I think it had a lot of broad appeal to it. Very, very interesting. We'll have lots to say about that, but I hadn't seen it before. But I was glad I did.
Yeah, I'd not seen it before. I'd not heard of it. I was just looking at what we could possibly do for Batman 66 when I suggested perhaps you two might have wanted to come and talk about it. And I have to confess, I sort of picked it because I thought it'd be terrible, but I found it very endearing. Luke, what about you?
I'd never seen it, no. And as I say, I've only seen about a third of the canon. But this was bloody great. This was like Batman's version of an adventure in space and time, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
I found it equally as informative as I found it brilliant, like fun and charming.
There was about 5 minutes in, and I was like, "Is this going to be terrible?" And then fairly quickly, I was like, "It might be, but I'm on board." And then I was like, "No, fuck this. This is really good. I like this." And it kept me charmed and interested all the way through.
I definitely put it on as like a nice one, Dylan.
Hour and a half. Thanks, Dylan.
But like very quickly, like 5 or 6 minutes in, was like, I really like this.
I was prepared to be like, I'll watch this half an hour a night or something like that, but there was none of that. I think though, when you've got a subject like Batman 66, you can either do a straight up documentary and go, oh, wasn't it wonderful? Or you can try and do a docudrama that's a bit serious and earnest, but it doesn't really do the subject matter justice. So
you don't get Adam West saying, I don't want to go, do you? Pulling on the heartstrings at home.
Exactly. So instead, you get this format, which Conrad, why don't you explain what the format is to everybody?
Yeah, so the format is it's a dramatized version of the life of Adam West and Burt Ward, where they get a mysterious invitation to a sort of car event, this sort of charity event that Bruce Wayne was invited to all the time. And they sort of go there quite innocently, and he discovers, that Burt Ward was, I think he'd turned up there as well, not knowing what was going on. And then a sort of adventure, they sort of follow this adventure to try and find who's stolen the Batmobile and who's behind the strings of this kind of crazy adventure. And what you basically get is an episode of Batman 66, an extended sort of movie version of a Batman 66 episodes, but it's Adam West is 75 and Burt Ward is 58. And they're still having the same adventures with some of the same villains, and most of, to be honest, I was sort of like tick tick tick. All the major beats you want are there. So yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. But they do with flashbacks. They illustrate the history of the making of Batman 66 through their memories that they're forced to sort of remember through flashback. And so you get two things. You get a sort of an episode of Batman 66 being made today with their older selves, which is like incredibly charming. You also get a little potted history of Batman 66, which really checks out. So it's actually really, really clever.
Because I think if they tried to do like The Dark Knight Returns, but with Adam West or something like that, it would have fallen flat. So to kind of wrap up,
he would outshine everything else.
Well,
if you put Adam West in a room, who's got a chance?
Well, he is a charming and charismatic individual. Luke, you mentioned Adventure in Time and Space. It's like a Mythmakers with budget, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was going to guess, because at one point I thought, are the flashbacks just going to be them talking about things? And it's just really bizarre, slightly hokey, but knowingly hokey. But everybody's taking it seriously. Well, I guess, does it hit the tone of Batman 66?
Yeah, that is like Batman, isn't it? That's exactly the tone of Batman. I think as well, like the format, the genre sort of accommodates the age and the nostalgia in a perfect way, in a way that, as I say later on with the animation, the animation is trying so hard to just sort of be what it was, and it's going to great pains. Whereas this is like, you've got to reflect the fact they're older, and this does, but it manages to do it in just a really clever, fun, nice way. I also love like genre that's sort of this like meta genre where the actors sort of blend with the characters. Inside Number 9 did it. Not many things do it. I think you have to be at like the end of a journey to be able to do it. But I always really enjoy it when they do.
A big shout out to the direction and the production design. They get all the right angles for Batman 66. They recreate the Batcave perfectly. They recreate all the sets and stuff. It just looks amazing. What do you think, Conrad?
Yeah, definitely. There was some points where they were recreating the Batcave where I was like jaw on the floor, and it kind of it was actually just the guy playing Batman that I just was like, oh wait, no, he's nowhere as good. But sometimes it was exactly like it. Adam West, Burt Ward, Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, and Julie Newmar as Catwoman. It's like very much. Some of my notes were just like, still got it. Yeah. It's like the fact that they still like the charm, charisma, humor, and energy is sort of. I know they're older, but that's quite superficial because actually, as themselves and as the characters, there's no change at all.
There's always a danger when you wheel out a bunch of pensioners to recreate their iconic characters, even in a spoof, that it'll miss the mark slightly or they haven't got it and it just doesn't work. But I'm the same as you. I was like, still got it. Especially, let's give Adam West and Burt Ward their props. Like, if you were listening to this on the radio, you would think it was from the time almost. It's like they sound the same. They've got the same charisma and charm. They deliver it with the same sort of knowing, wry smiles. And they just hit every joke expertly. And I laughed out loud a couple of times, because it was genuinely funny.
They play it like they're in a Batman episode, not like they're in a spoof or a documentary. I think, again, they just know how to play this stuff.
It's really hard to get right. And as we'll see with the animation as well, it's a really fine line. And it's like, they do it with, I don't know, I think it's more the question that they're doing wry stuff, but they play it with total sincerity. Yeah. And that's just like, it's very hard to do. It's a thing that the quality of sincerity is really, really hard to do. It's often not very fashionable. Everyone wants an ironic twist and a bit of a meta wink to the camera. And I think they just, as in the TV series, they let the writers and the situations and the sets and everything do the work of that hilarity, but they play it absolutely, straight, as it were, and they're doing it here, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yvonne Craig was the only surviving series cast member who declined to appear in the project because she did not like the script.
The woman playing her was just exactly like him and like doing all the flick flacks and it was like, wow, she was a knockout.
Due to those aforementioned rights issues, they couldn't show any footage from the series at all, only the 1966 movie. So that is why we only see a few little clips. But actually, I think it's better that that doesn't exist because you get all of these recreations, you get so many of them, and there's no reliance of like, oh, we can just cut to that, we can cut to that. Everything's got to be brand new. And there's only that one sort of scene in the cinema where they start watching a bit of the old stuff that, okay, we'll take a moment to see them in action.
It's so cool when you get to see scenes from slightly different angles and versions and stuff. Like we've seen it in the Doctor Who docudrama. You see it in like Back to the Future 2. I think it is just something you get a kick out of because it's sort of making you relive the stuff you love again. It just in the moment. It's just so all that stuff. I mean, I'm not even like the biggest fan, but as you say, some of those sets like the Riddler spin machine and everything, I was just like, I've seen this before. This is really good.
At one point, they had the young actor playing young Burt Ward, fully tied up to a thing with explosion dynamite going off. And I was like, this is everything I want to tune into. This is, it just gives you everything you want. And there's a really meaty explosion at the end. And presumably it's a stunt double. But by that time, you've really forgotten, like Burt Ward goes flying in through the air out of the cage. And then you're like, that can't be him. And then I just went, he's 3 years older than I am, and I'd have a go at it if someone asked me to do it. So maybe it was him. You just don't know. By that time, you're so deep in it. It's really remarkable, actually, because like you said, we've seen so many hokey old, like you said, wheeling out the old actors. Go on, do the old sketch again. It's all a bit like, ugh. And like, I think this is probably one of the best considering they are so much older than they were at the time, and it's an action thing, and they're playing comic book characters, and to be able to pull that off at that ages of 75 and 58 is kind of ridiculous. But they totally get away with it and more.
There is nothing else like Batman 66 in terms of the tone and the style, so you just have to get it right. And I know I said earlier that they could have failed, but you're even more aware here that they're getting it right because there's no other tone to emulate.
And the script gets the tone right just as much as, Adam West and Burt Ward. Like the puzzle they get from where, it's like, what does an elephant always do? Never forgets. So we must go down memory lane and remember everything we ever did. And it's those sort of like massive jumps in logic, which is beautifully Batman 66, but also very funny for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right, because in the show, the riddle, Robin was the only one who could solve the riddler's clues. It was really odd. And they never made any sense. It's like, what's black and white and red and lives up in a tree? And it's just like, a magpie with a refrigerator and a machine gun. And they never made sense. Then go, of course. And he's like, what? And it leaves. You're absolutely right. They're absolutely spot on.
Well, the other side of that is you get in the Robert Pattinson Batman film, where the Riddler's doing the world's most obvious riddles, and everybody has to pretend they don't have Google, where they can just look up this really obvious. It's better if they don't make sense. So while we're on it, Duane Poole wrote the script. Duane has one of the most impressive writers' IMDb's I've ever seen, and I have never heard of a single show on there apart from Mork and Mindy and the Flintstones. It's absolutely phenomenal. He worked for years and years and years and years. But it's in that sort of American television that I just don't think made it to the UK. So bravo to him. But what do we think of the story he weaves?
I think it's so clever because, as we've established, Batman works on many levels and Batman 66 works on lots of levels. And they really kind of managed to exploit all of them. So what you get is an episode of Batman 66. You also get the strand of like the history of how they made it. But on top of that, and I think this is the bit I kind of most enjoyed in a way, was you also get a little look into what it was like filming in the 60s and what the 60s were like. I mean, just like what Hollywood was like and the fans and the girls and all that kind of stuff. I think they just managed to do it's doing a hell of a lot at once, actually. I think I knew most of the sort of facts, but there were some things there I didn't know about the making of it. And when I sort of checked it, and this is kind of interesting, I think, as well, is like, a lot of these stories are apocryphal and they're just through, stories that Burt Ward said or whatever. So it's all a little bit like, is that true? Is it not true? And we'll sort of never really know. But in a way, that kind of fantasy myth of Hollywood, that's sort of how Hollywood works, isn't it? It's all hearsay and speculation and whatever. So I just enjoyed that. It felt like being in Hollywood in the 60s, and it kind of, I found that really, and the fact there was that mystique of like, wait, so is that true? Are we talking as Adam West and Burt Ward? Are we talking as Batman and Robin? So it really blurred a lot. So it was brilliant. It was very funny. Like, I felt very deep in a fantasy world on several levels, I think.
Yeah, and never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And I think we've learned that from seeing many an actor at a convention over the years. And so why not weave it into this? Because you've also got to make a bit of television that's interesting for a viewer who doesn't know the world of it and is just go, yeah, I watched Batman 66 when I was a kid and I might want to learn something about it. It's interesting what they do with Burt in terms of his audition, because we can actually see Burt's first audition. It's on the internet, it's on the box set, right? And so I found it quite interesting that it was like his first role and he didn't really know what he's doing, but they're definitely playing up the fact that he didn't know what he's doing, because in that audition, feels like he knows the lines. Luke, what about you? Anything to add to the script?
I think that was the bit as well for me. I was watching it having no idea how much of it was true, because it felt like you were watching, as you've alluded to, like exaggerated convention tellings of the story, of the history. But yeah, like used to seeing, the behind the scenes of Lime Grove in the 60s and Hollywood, but not sort of TV Hollywood in the 60s. So that was really interesting. But I think on a script level, the point where I realised this was really working for me is that I really cared about the plot of Adam West and Burt Ward, even though it's all, slightly ironic. I was guessing who was behind who stole the Batmobile the whole time and was changing my mind and was actively engaged in like the mystery, which is barely even the first layer of this like 7th layer fantasy.
Yeah.
So I knew I was really in. Yeah, I thought the whole time it was going to be the original actor that played Batman who was trying to steal the Batmobile, but he's sort of there anyway at some point. But yeah, that's what I mean. I was actually like, if there'd been a week-long break, I'd have been on Twitter with fan theories.
No, it's a good little mystery, and as you say, you're like, oh, is it going to be the Riddler? Is it going like? I'm also going, was Cesar Romero still alive at that point? I don't know. Like, I can't remember sort of chronologically. Like, I don't know when all these people died. So yeah, sure, it's going to be somebody that we've encountered before. What do we think of Jack Brewer's Adam West and Jason Marsden's Burt Ward? Do they give you the same awakenings that you had when you were a young man, or are they pale in comparison?
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's all about the outfit, really. And Jack Brewer fills that outfit out very. Like he's he's kind of like stock American male, as was, I suppose when this was made. So he's square jawed, good looking, well built. And he just looks amazing in the suit. And I've got to say, Jason Marsden, I thought was brilliant as Burt Ward, because it's really tricky to do. Robin's actually a really tricky character, and Burt Ward was such a find because he's so energetic, and there's something going on with him because so Burt Ward's father was was in a traveling ice skating show into stunts and all this kind of stuff. So already as a young age, he was an amazing ice skater. He was an athlete. He was excelled at all the sports at school. So good with martial arts. He was very good friends with Bruce Lee. He was a proper thing. He was also a maths genius, a chess champion. Like, he's just this kind of, I don't know what's going on, but he's just a very switched on, can do irrepressible energy. And that as Robin is just so delightful. That he's always ready on the tips of his toes. And when he goes to run, he sort of jumps before he runs. He's just so energetic. And I did, as part of this, I did start to look at like what's true, what's not true. Because, on his first week of filming, as Luke said, like it was kind of like, wow, what's his first day like? And they made a lot of it. But I did look at it, and it is true that 4 out of 5 of his first days, he ended up in the emergency room getting things. And I was like, why aren't you using his stuntman? And he's like, well, his stuntman, and the guy goes, well, the stuntman doesn't really look like you. And it's true. His stunt, if ever, I can always tell. You can never tell with Adam West because, he's so covered. But with him, like Robin's stuntman, is a guy called Victor Poole, is too tall. And it's just like, that's just a dead given. He just doesn't look like him. But yeah, so stuff like that's true. And I thought that Jason Marsden did an absolutely brilliant job of that kind of plucky, go-getty thing. And in the audition, I was just like, okay, they're going to show some of the audition. I was like, but surely, is he going to do all the throws and the rolls and the karate? And he did it. And then someone stood in his head, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, wow. He was like, if they were going to make a Batman 66 at that time, he would have been absolutely perfect casting for it. He had that sincerity and all the necessary attributes that would have.
Indeed. When we first flash back to them, I'm immediately going, Jason Marsden is the part. And Jack Brewer, it took a little bit of time to convince, but the moment he got in the suit, I thought he captured it. And then whenever he was out of it, I was sold. It was almost like an uncanny valley thing for a moment of just like, well, that's not him. But 5-10 minutes in, I was absolutely sold by the performance.
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit more Burt's story, the flashback stuff.
That is true,
so that James Marsden was brilliant, and it immediately sort of, I mean, you were just like, it's Robin, it's Burt Ward. Like, you were just watching it like, that's just the case. And in Adam West, the guy who played Adam West was just as you say, very charming stock American. I didn't really question it. I thought they were both great. As we keep saying, like, it's a hard tone to get even in a documentary version, and they didn't seem to push it one way or the other in their performances.
What about the rest of the cast, which is a mixture of familiar faces and some new ones as well?
Yeah, well, I liked the Julie Newmar scene in the club. That was very fun.
Yeah.
And the Riddler, good to see him back.
Still got it though. Like, he, even without being dressed as the Riddler, he inhabited that role.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was I just couldn't really shake from the main two. Like, it's nice to see them back, but I didn't really have many more thoughts on it than that.
Yeah.
I thought they were brilliant. I thought Frank Gorshin was all. I mean, this is the thing. Like with Batman and Robin, and Batman '66, the villains are so strong, and in the movie, of course, they get the Penguin, Joker, Catwoman, and albeit a different Catwoman, and the Riddler together. And those four are the sort of the key four. I've got my little action figures up there somewhere. Those are the key four villains, and they're so strong and so amazingly cast. It's like Batman '66 was one of those things where the casting is so right, like the original Star Wars. You cannot imagine it any other way. It's just bottle lightning, and it's kind of what makes it work. But yeah, the older versions were amazing. I mean, Julie Newmar has still, like, boy, has she still got it. Julie Newmar is such an interesting one because she's incredibly sexy in a Catwoman, and she's playing Catwoman, so she's always in a cat suit. But she's got this kind of weird, slightly kooky big sister vibe about her. There's something a bit off in a good way. She's not just like conventionally like attractive, glamorous woman. In fact, they do get a younger version, I think, of her to play. She's all sort of sexy and very, very sexy, and that's fine. A sexy woman is one thing, but Julie Newmar's got this kind of slightly off kookiness about her. She's a bit of an oddball, which is what you really need, and she's still totally got it. Frank Gorshin is just electric, and I won't go on about him, but like his performance in Batman '66 is, I think he did win an Emmy, like, or get nominated for an Emmy for his performance, and like it is one of the most energetic things you've ever seen in your life. Like the veins just pop out in his head, and he leaps around. He's just like, he's mad. So he's really good, so he did really well. And I think that generally the people playing the younger versions of the villains were pretty on the money as well.
I think the villains is what makes Batman, all of Batman, sort of superior to all the other superhero things for me. I think they've got the most interesting and the most fun villains, and there's loads of different ones. It's not just one or two good ones that a lot of the other superhero franchises seem to have.
And I think culturally, the Batman villains are the ones that are most ingrained in the general public's minds. It is. And I think a lot of it's to do with Batman '66 and the fact that every time they've done them, they've got them so right. So whether it's Cesar Romero or Jack Nicholson or Heath Ledger as the Joker, like every generation.
Leto.
Yeah, even Jared Leto has got his fans, and it's a different take. Maybe if we'd seen more of him, we might have thought differently. Whereas, like, Superman, the general public aren't going,
it's again.
Yeah. When are they bringing Brainiac in or whatever? It's just like,
where's Bizarro at?
I've never heard of any of these people. So yeah, point well made.
That's because they're not important.
But I tell you what is important, and this is a real litmus test for me, is the henchman. I'm wearing a henchman t-shirt because I'm a child. I mean, generally, I love henchmen anyway. Like whether it's stormtroopers or whatever, or even just in any movie, I'm sort of rarely looking at the chief villain. I was like, who are the weird lunkheads behind like broken noses and weird voices like sure boys. Like I love those people. So I really like the henchman, like you said, Luke, in the bar fight they had was really good with all the kapows and whatever. And the henchmen were, splosh. That's another conversation.
Didn't record that bit, guys. Didn't record that bit. So
you can do that in another podcast. We are not doing that today. Their four henchmen was Pretty Boy, who was the ugly one, Slim, the fat one, Big Joe, the tiny one, and Curly, the bald one. I'm like, spot on. I will niggle that the font wasn't quite right, but hey, we'll let that go. But the henchmen were brilliant, and that is a key. And I think that's the point where I wrote. The beats are all right.
Yeah.
Everything you want to see, yet without being formulaic, it just felt right. They got all the bits they needed to get right. They really got right.
And it's also split into like 20-minute chunks. So Dylan, if you had wanted to split it up, it still has that Batman feeling that it sort of fades to black with a little bit of a cliffhanger. Yeah, every time. So you do still feel like you're watching Batman and not a movie.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the henchman, Conrad, because when Batman '89 happened and me and all my mates at school were collecting the figures, henchman Bob got his own action figure. And there was only like 4 figures from the thing. And henchman Bob's got like 2 lines, whereas Commissioner Gordon's got like reams and reams of dialogue, or Vicky Vale or whoever. But no, it's the henchman, because you knew with henchman Bob, all the henchmen looked the same. There was tall ones and fat ones and muscle ones, but they all had the same outfit. And it's an integral part of the Batman villains because they can't do it by themselves.
And they really made such a feature of them. I mean, the fact that they even gave some henchmen, they all got T-shirts saying henchman or goon. Goon is another thing. I need to get goon. Maybe I shouldn't get a goon. I'm not sure. But they usually gave them themed names. So when like the Riddler took over a waxwork factory, they were all called Wick and Tallow or whatever. So they always had all the henchmen were always themed, which is just lovely. And it goes into that weird. I think it speaks to that kind of the fact that it's a comic book. What Batman 66 was so good at is that it does look like a comic book in a way that arguably a lot of them others aren't quite. It was so colourful. And like there's the whole thing of the bat labels. You know, everything's labelled ridiculously. And like one of my favourite bat labels, I think, was on a library shelf, which says books on the incredibly rare treasures of the Incas. You know, on a library, on a really big label. And the labels are great. And the fact that henchmen are labelled and called things, it just gives you that comic book. It's like a comic book that's just gone 3D that Batman 66 did so well. And the fact that it was, you mentioned this earlier, Luke, I think that's a really actually good point. It's not just, you're used to seeing Hollywood film, but Hollywood TV, which should have been fast, cheap, and millions of, like a total production line. And the sets were, it always helped because the sets were always, for the villains there, it was a black cyclorama with whatever stuff they could put, like giant, outsized, colourful props, but like the Avengers as well, like the old black and white Avengers. Very cartoony and very graphic, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I also just wanted to say as well about just going back to kind of what it was like for Burt Ward and Adam West filming it and the reaction from the public, I think is really interesting. And that whole thing of, you know, there's some bits where it's, you know, the girls, the groupies and the girls, you know, this is in the 60s, for God's sake. Yeah. And the groupies and the girls, and there's several bits, you know, Adam West is signing girls' boobs. There's lots of shots of sexy cleavage and sexy arse and all the sexy ladies. But that was for them, that was a huge part of the series. When it got popular, they're famously the stories of Adam and Burt and quite how much sex they were getting. It was like, again, some of this is apocryphal, some of this, you know, one will slightly say, one will slightly deny, but there's no doubt they were getting an incredible amount of sex. There was a story that came out that Adam West told on a chat show, and he's almost the one that will deny it. Burt will often talk it up a bit, like, you know, the fact he was so big he had to have pills to shrink his bulge. You know, it's like, did you? I'm not sure. Is that you? I don't know. But the complaints were real. You know, there really was. What was it? The Catholic Legion of Decency obviously had nothing better to do than watch boys in pants on television, and we've got very focused and very. Who knew of Catholics became incredibly interested in the contents of this.
We've taken a photograph of it, we've paused it, and we can confirm it's massive.
It's disgraceful. We can't stop watching it. And it's so silly. But, you know, there were real complaints about that. Whether Burt Ward had to take shrinking pills, we don't know. But there was certainly complaints about that.
Or whether he was shoving a pair of socks down his pants before every episode.
I mean, Burt Ward accused Adam West of doing that. But again, I think it's all a sort of friendly banter, but there is no two ways about it. They were getting an enormous amount of sex. And the popularity was huge. And because the show worked as a kid's show, but also it was very pop culture as well. It was very groovy. It was very, you know, they were. And in 2014, Adam West went on a show. And like I said, he was one who'd slightly underplay it or hinted it coyly. But he full on said that he and Frank Gorshin went to a Hollywood party where there was an orgy going on. And they thought it would be fun to go in character, which I can well believe. And they thought it was funny. Lots of people there thought it was funny, but then they got kicked out because I think it was sort of it changed the vibe. Let's say,
yeah.
And there's, I mean, and Burt Ward, you know, he's got an interview saying that like he was new, he was 20, had no idea. He's catapulted to fame as the boy wonder, and of course Adam West was like single, handsome playboy in the 60s and basically just took Burt Ward to all the places, and they really, really had. I mean, it's such an important, it's such a big part of the story. And it makes you cringe nowadays, where you kind of see like, oh, it's sign my boobs, and wow, she's nice, and all the girls throwing themselves at them. It's actually a really important part of the story because I think as Adam West and Burt Ward's experience was just like, they weren't just movie stars, they were pop TV stars, and they were hot property, and they would have been getting a hell of a lot.
But it's also that sort of sexual explosion of that time, if you know what I mean, of like where we're sort of people are turning their back on traditional values of like, oh no, 2.4 children and you have sex twice to have your 2 children on your marriage night and a year later and that's it, and like actually going out and enjoying themselves. And Doctor Who isn't doing that. Even Star Trek, there is romance in Star Trek and things like that, but it's not
until the War Machines anyway.
But this, it feels like a sexually charged show because the people in it, I mean, not all the people, but Catwoman, Batman, Robin, they're hot, you know?
Chief O'Hara.
Chief O'Hara, what a babe.
I'm imagining Eyes Wide Shut with a 66 Batman and the Riddler in it now.
And also, that's what I think is very sweet about the show is that it is very, you know, Catwoman is just so sexy, and they are, you know, but Batman and Bruce Wayne and Burt Ward and or rather Dick Grayson. I see I'm getting all their identities mixed up now, but basically they've got no awareness of that. Someone will sort of come on to Batman and Robin a bit, and they generally don't know what to do. I think the most you see happens is that in a later series, Robin goes on a date. And he's drinking milkshake with you know drinking from the same milkshake with 2 straws. That's about as far as they actually, and they don't tend to make innuendos, and they don't tend to notice women in that way because they're too busy crime fighting. But behind the scenes, of course, it was quite the opposite. And the first odd thing about the 60s I saw was like they mentioned that Adam West first he'd done a few, you know, he'd done sort of TV shows like Perry Mason, he'd done movies like Robinson Crusoe in Outer Space. But one of his first shows was on something called the Kini Popo Show. And I was like, what the hell is that? So I had to look at it. I had to look it up. It was a daily live show from Hawaii, which was very entertaining. And they had a puppet and a chimp, very exciting. And they would have guest stars like Ella Fitzgerald and Elvis. And it made me go, oh God, it was the 60s, wasn't it? Everything was complete. It was an explosion of just craziness.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine Hollywood? Well, the nice thing is this does give you a little bit of Hollywood in the 60s, but as Luke says, it's Hollywood TV in the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's faster and cheaper and more populist and popular. I know, I thought this thing really covered it well, be it the kind of groupie girls or whatever's going on. I thought they really covered it well.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a boastful thing of like, oh, look at all the girls we're getting. It was just like, it was a snapshot of the time and going, no, this is what it was like.
It wasn't boastful, but it's still pretty cool. What do we think about Adam West touching Batgirl's tit? Do you reckon he'd put that in now?
What, if they were writing this version of it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they would. But I'm sure it happened.
Is it real? Is it on an episode somewhere? Or did they like? Is it actually a scene from an episode? I've never seen a Batgirl one yet.
I will say Yvonne Craig is very, very good as Batgirl. She is really, really good. I never like it when they bring in extra characters. When you've got a nice team or a duo and then you bring in the third wheel is never a favourite, the Scrappy Doo or whatever. So, and also I was very much in Batman for the men. So like Catwoman was okay, but I don't want a girl joining the group.
Yeah, a girl every week. What's that about?
Yeah, I know. I never liked that. But Batgirl, but Yvonne Craig was bloody brilliant. And she's Chief Commissioner's daughter, so she's Barbara Gordon. So she is part of the world.
There is no evidence that Adam West touched Yvonne Craig's boob inappropriately on the set of Batman.
That's good then, isn't it? We're all good. It's a throwaway gag. It's a throwaway gag. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. If you try to apply today's standards to what the hell was going on behind the scenes in the 60s, I just make anything. God, those people were having fun.
How do we feel about the Bat rap that accompanies this? Because the music's quite Batman 66 in places, and then there's a remix of the Batman theme tune with a rapper on it.
It's fine. I don't mind it. I think it's a piece of pop culture, so it's ripe for reinvention. So I think you can do whatever. And stuff like in the Addams Family movies, there was a rap version of the Addams Family song in that. So I don't feel too protective about it. I think it's fine.
It was of the era.
Yeah, they didn't overuse it. I think it was okay.
I can't say I really thought anything of it.
You didn't notice it?
No.
Well, it was done by an artist called Jay Flex, who, believe it or not, although I didn't know this song, I'm quite familiar with Jay Flex's work.
Do you know what? I have got to say, when I heard it, I was like, I must Google that. And I was like, you know what? Dylan know who it is. And here you are. Tell us, Jay Flex.
J Flex was signed to Death Row Records and had releases on the gang-related Gridlocked and Friday soundtracks, all of which I owned on compact disc as a child. And he worked heavily with Dr. Dre. So it was quite exciting to hear him here rapping about Batman, and what a banger it is too.
And then, that's also in the spirit of as well, because back in the day, they, like you said, the with the rights issues, because there'd always be a character at the window, and they were often like Sammy Davis Jr. or a musician of the day. And in the very bloody first episode of Batman, he does that dance, which is like it kind of annoys me a bit, because everyone goes on, it shows clips or gifs of Batman doing some silly dance. And he does it once, but of course that's what everyone thinks. But it's very, very appropriate, because in the 60s they would always have pop culture people in there, Bruce Lee, whoever. Yeah. So I think it's totally fine for this to you. It makes sense. Just get a pop artist in. It's pop art, so I think it's totally allowed.
You want to do something with the theme and remix it for that era, and 2003 rap music was massive. So it sort of makes sense. And as you said, it happened on the Addams Family. It happened on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film.
And we had Prince in the 89 one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always got to happen.
Yeah. Do we have much more we want to say on this one?
Well, I'm glad Reece Shearsmith didn't come in as Michael Keaton. And that would have been a total shift. No, not really. It's just a really fun time in their company. Fun time recollecting, and it's perfectly judged. It's very charming, and most surprisingly, it's a half decent Batman story with Batgirl in it.
Fair.
Pretty good. Yeah, I just want to sort of give just a few little bits. I do like the narrator thing.
For
the narrator was great, and then only Adam West can hear him for a while. And that was great. They used to do it in the Muppets all the time. They used to go, tune in next week, and all the Muppets would look around and see who was saying it. And I've always found it a funny joke. But then after a while, Burt Ward can hear it as well. And I thought, and actually that was about the time that I was really invested. I started to go, no, I'm into this. And so it really bloody worked. So I loved that. I love all the Dutch angles on the villain's lair. They got that absolutely right. And they even explain why it is. And I also really enjoyed, talking about a good script, I really enjoyed Burt Ward's line, I get paid weekly, very weekly, which I've never heard before, and I'm going to use all the time. That's a great joke. Full marks.
Yeah, fantastic for me. I love the egg fight they have in the middle of one of the episodes, which is just a bizarre little moment.
It is true. Vincent Price played the Eggman, and he was a bit narky, and he did throw a few eggs at the crew. And apparently, Burt Ward, he didn't get on that well with Burt Ward, and he absolutely pelted him with lots of eggs. So that's actually true.
No, there we go. I love that we end up in the Batcave towards the end, the real cave, not the studio bit, and that the bomb goes off and only Burt gets hurt because obviously he doesn't get a stuntman, which has been a callback throughout the whole thing. And just generally, what a joyful celebration of a TV legend. So we must rate this. Is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
Holy homage! It's an absolute bat banger.
Love that. Luke?
Holy lunch specials. It's a banger.
I've got nothing. Shit. I'll add something in post.
Holy shit.
Holy fuck. It's another banger from me.
Too hot for TV.
So, the next thing we're going to cover is Batman vs. Two-Face. It was directed by Rick Moranis and written by James Tucker and Michael Jelenic. It was released in the United States on the 17th of October 2017 and in the UK on the 30th of October 2017 and went straight to digital versatile disc. Looking at the landscape, we are in the age of the superhero. At the cinema, we've got Logan, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League. On television, we've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, The Defenders, The Flash Season 4, Gotham Season 4, Legends of Tomorrow Season 3. Superheroes were massive. How do we feel about that time? Because I was very immersed into the superhero world at the time, and I'm also one of those people that is very fucking fatigued by it now. What about you, Conrad?
Yeah, no.
Not for you.
No, I'm sorry. No, all that franchise stuff. I did go and see Avengers Assemble.
Did you?
Can I get a point for that?
Did you like how they assembled?
Yeah, they were very good. And there was a man with a big glove, and he turned Spider-Man to dust. And there was lots of other people who didn't.
But yeah, that's Endgame.
Disassemble. I saw that one. I saw that. I mean, how are you supposed to tell the difference? I tell you what I'm like. I remember once in 2016. When was it? I can't remember. I went to see Batman versus Superman at the cinema, and I remember at one point, I think it might have been close to the end, but there was a big fight, and I could no longer tell what I was seeing or hearing on the screen, and I just stood up and walked out. Just because I was like. I didn't hate it. But I was just like, I just can't tell what's happening. So I stood up and walked out. So I'm afraid that all that franchise stuff is. There are some good ones in there, but generally it's not for me. That whole stuff was sort of lost on me. Sorry.
That happens at the end of every DC film. I quite enjoy Batman versus Superman, but at the end of every DC film, there's about 20 minutes where there's black and orange colours, and then it ends.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
Characters being thrown really hard against walls, and the walls going, and that's it. And that's what happens every day.
On a giant scale. Yeah,
just bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, sorry, that's me on franchise land. I've got no idea. I just go, I prefer the original, and then just go and watch an old one.
Yeah, no, I get you, and I think a lot of people feel that fatigue now.
I never bought in, but I wasn't completely out, so I think I had a bit more of a healthy relationship. I went to see the big Avengers ones. I would have seen Batman and Spider-Man, and that's about it. I sort of had people that would always inform me about what the overall thing was, but all you needed to know is there was a guy collecting some rocks, really. And the DC one didn't really have anything. Every time you looked, it had rebooted at some point. So, yeah.
Fair. Gotham celebrates the apparent cure of District Attorney Harvey Dent, whose split personality as the villain Two-Face is removed through an experimental device developed by Hugo Strange. During the celebration, an accident causes Dent's evil persona to be physically separated from him as an independent being, allowing Two-Face to escape and embark on a crime spree with several of Gotham's villains, while attempting to permanently rid himself of Harvey. Batman and Robin pursue him as Two-Face's increasingly unstable schemes threaten the city, while Harvey struggles with the idea that his darker self is inseparable from who he really is. In a final confrontation, Harvey realises that denying part of himself only empowers it, and he willingly reunites Two-Face, restoring his full personality and stopping the villainy, while Batman cures the city of Gotham, whose citizens, including Robin, have been turned into villainous Two-Face monsters.
Too hot for TV.
So, I mean, in the midst of all this, we have Batman versus Two-Face, this animated, straight-to-DVD, new bit of Batman 66. So, Conrad, have you seen this before?
I have. Yeah, I've got that and the first one, Return of the Cape Crusaders, I think it's called. The first one is, yeah, I did. So I got I found out about them. I got them because I was big on going through my Batman 66 phase. And so, yeah, I did see them at the time. I really enjoyed them at the time. I was like, oh, actually, these are pretty on the money. Since then, I've seen the Batman animated series. So that's completely rearranged my brain in what's possible with Batman and animation. So this doesn't match up to that. It's still pretty good, but it's, and again, just having seen what we've just seen, it's made me much more aware of that line. I think there's a lot they really get right. I think it's overall pretty good, but there are a few tells which say that they're not quite getting it right, I think. What did you make of it?
Interesting. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd never seen it before, so I've been aware of it, and it'd been on my list of something to watch at some point, because 2 new episodes, I mean, we're only doing the one, but there are 2 new episodes out there of Batman 66 with, largely original cast members, or at least the lead 2. And it's like, that's something you've got to dip into if you've even got a passing interest, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I had a good time, but I did prefer the previous film. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it before. It was sort of on my watch list along with the other one, which I still haven't seen. I haven't seen Return of the Cape Crusaders. Yeah, I thought it was good, fine, but quite disposable. It won't impact my life.
What were you expecting, to just devote your life to the teachings of this film?
I don't know, to be honest. I didn't know what exactly it was going to do. And I thought for the most part, it did what it wanted to do. And it was fairly competent. I think I might have preferred it if, and might be where Conrad is going to go, but I might have preferred it if Adam West and Burt, just hadn't been in it. If it had just been something completely new and they'd just gone for it. I think, there's something a bit tragic about trying so hard to recreate the past. You have to, animate it. Anyway, when are we doing that Fury from the Deep Steel book, Dylan?
Definitely want to listen to that.
I mean, I know that when you're this steeped in nostalgia, and I think as long as you're not churning them out, having a couple of things like this and just going, we're just going to have a last outing for these guys, the fans will like it, is quite an interesting thing to do and quite fun to have. Like, obviously, if you put all your weight and expectation on it to be the best episode of Batman 66 ever, I think you're going to fail because nothing's going to beat that original run. And I think this is probably the last time you could have done something like this because the straight-to-DVD market doesn't exist anymore. You go to a streamer where things don't make that much money, so you can't have a niche product like this, of this standard of animation anyway, I guess you'd say. So it's a lovely thing to exist, and I think the big draw was hearing them back, and then hearing William Shatner as Two-Face was an irresistible proposition. So how do we feel about this approach then of using animation to make a few new episodes?
I mean, okay, in theory, I think these two are enough. I think there was a trailer on this for maybe another one. Maybe they're planning on doing another one. I'm quite glad it was only two. I mean, obviously, it ended up being released 4 months after Adam West's death. So, it's as a last hurrah, you can't really begrudge them of a last go. And as they were then, Adam West was 89, but was 72. So I think moving it into animation and Julie Newmar turns up as well still. And like you said, William Shatner for that real 60s feel. And he feasibly would have been or could have been a guest star on the show at the time. So that I thought that's actually a really smart move. And it actually unlocks something very, very interesting. They've both got that daytime smooth persona of millionaire playboys. And William Shatner versus Adam West is irresistible and it works. I actually think overall this is a worthwhile thing and it's interesting. It wraps things up and it kind of puts a bookmark on the whole era. And I think it's pretty respectable for that. It does a pretty good job. As I said, with a couple of reservations, overall, a pretty good job. So I'm glad they couldn't do many more of them. Two's enough.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I mean, Luke, bear in mind that you are a big Finnish consumer when it comes to Doctor Who, of consuming elderly actors revisiting their parts again and again and again. And,
How dare you? How dare you?
Not you. I'm talking about Colin Baker.
Oh, how dare you? Don't say a word against Colin.
I'm quite happy for him. It feels like it would have been a nice thing for Adam West to do. So I think that's very nice. But it sort of just makes me sad rather than excited or happy when the voice has basically the same rhythm, but it's completely different because it's older and it's lost that sort of smoky velvet and it's just a bit nasally and it's a bit old. This is why Tom Baker shouldn't come back to Doctor Who for a 13 episode series, even though some people might say. Because I think fundamentally, I can't get past it. It makes me a little bit sad that it's over, And I think it's very nice for him. I mean, it only would have brought joy for him in the last couple of months or whenever this was recorded. So that is nice. And as I say, I think it's perfectly fine. I just don't need it, but he might have. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, fair.
What are you doing? What do you make of that?
Obviously, they sound older. And I think they get away with it because it's animation that, they're editing it. It's not a real-time performance. I think there's probably a tight sort of 50 minutes in it. And what is it, like an hour and 10, something like that? And I think the pacing, if you're just a bit snappier with the editing and get even more into the style of the time. But I guess they're also going, who's going to buy a 50-minute DVD? We need to make it appear like it's a full film, even though it's really not.
I think that is a really good point out of the format of it. It is a bit too long. And there was a scene, I remember that there was a court scene in there. And it does this doesn't feel like Batman 66, an extended courtroom scene.
Yeah.
Unless the judge was a supervillain and they were all going to beat each other up and have a fight in a courtroom scene. A courtroom scene in Batman and Batman 66 just didn't ring true. Courtroom scenes are just talky and boring. And that's not, in the world of crime, that's not the edge we want to see. We make reference to you'll spend the rest of your life in jail or tell that to the judge, but we never actually want to see judge.
No, that's something you get in Gotham, the TV show, or something like that, or even
Right.
like the Nolan things where they're doing this more serious things. Oh, we need to have the court. But no, you don't want to be in the court unless someone's getting acid splashed in their face, or as
Now
you
we're
say,
talking.
yeah, there's a supervillain in there. I had an issue a little bit with William Shatner in that I thought he played Harvey Dent really well, and probably how he would have played it at the time. But I kind of wanted a bit more from his Two-Face, which I don't think I quite got. But it worked for you, right, Conrad?
To be honest, now you say that, I actually can't remember the voice of his Two-Face. I just remember that I was just all the Bachelor bit was I just enjoyed that so much. I actually can't remember. So you're probably right, because I can't remember his performance as it.
Yeah. What about you, Luke?
I think I was a little bit confused why Bruce and Harvey Dent were busy mates. Is this a thing? Because I've never really seen this before. Where has this happened before?
Well, it's not in Batman 66, but it is. I think it's something that is sort of hinted at in some of the films, but they haven't got time to develop it. And I think it happens in the comics that their lives are intertwined with each other, because when they're not being the other version of themselves, they're the same.
But that just threw me a bit, because I've seen a lot of Batman, and he was like, "You're my best," to the point where Robin is like, "Oh, Batman's got a new friend," and I was like, "What is going on?" I probably could have done with a bit more of Two-Face, actually. Now I think about it on reflection, I can't really think of what Two-Face really did, apart from that crazy bit with the game show, which was pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, the game show felt like the most Batman 66, but they've amped it up to 11.
That's exactly the kind of set I was talking about. It's like, we haven't got much money. Let's put some curtains, shine a big light on it. It's a nice big pop set that really worked in the way that like the courtroom scene and stuff doesn't. But yeah, I think now you're saying it, like I think he was really good as a Batman. It was really interesting because, like, in his world, he's a millionaire playboy. There will be other millionaire playboys. They go to these charity functions. He's always going to charity functions. Then there will be other eligible rich billionaires in this kind of world of his. So it was nice to meet another one. But I think now you said the Two-Facing didn't completely work. Although some of the animation was really good. There was a bit where he'd had surgery and thought it'd be repressed, and then all the stuff bubbled out of his face. I thought that was a really exciting bit.
It also threw me a little bit where at the start we get the conversion into Two-Face, a story that I think most people are vaguely familiar with. And then we sort of fast forward 6 months later and he's been cured, and then Two-Face is in the background. I was like, I'm not sure that's the right way in. I'm not sure it's the right angle. It set things off on a point where I was like, not that it's a mystery, but like, have I missed something?
This is where I thought it might relate to the first one, because I was exactly the same as you. I thought, is this carried on from the first one, or am I missing a few threads from, Return to Cape Crusader? But yeah, it did seem to just revert and then go again.
Yeah, I really love the character of Two-Face, which is, again, a reason I was keen to cover this. And it's a crying shame that they didn't do it in the 60s, but apparently a synopsis for an unused episode called The Two-Way Crimes of Two-Face was written by Harlan Ellison and covered similar ground as this movie, but gives him a different origin story. And it was expanded into a comic of Batman 66 as a lost episode, which is something I would like to dip into, because it's an irresistible thing seeing any of the Batman villains that weren't in Batman 66 done in that style. And I can't help but feel I'm just missing something here, as I said, that is not the Two-Face I wanted from that era. It's just Two-Face isn't broad enough. I don't walk away and go, William Shatner's up there with the Penguin and the Riddler and the Joker performances of that era.
I think it's a script thing. I think, like, for the reason you mentioned, the pacing's a bit off. It's a bit too long. I think had this been shorter, like for instance in the Batman animated series, it'd have been 40 minutes and you'd have had, or maybe a two-parter, and you'd have an extremely clear through line and know where you are with him. Whereas this, they kind of go back and forward a bit, which I don't think helps the plot.
They incorporate a lot of elements, iconography, characters, villains. Do they successfully weave them all into this?
So I thought, you're saying like the pace drop, it did a little bit, but I actually thought it was quite odd how it did have the feel of old Batman, but it was pacier. Like the set pieces were sort of bigger and quicker, and it goes to more places, more locations, but the bases and the computers have that old feel. And so I thought the tone was right. Just the shape of it doesn't really hold when you look at it overall, I don't really know what the story is when I look back at it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the incorporation of the other villains like the Joker and the Penguin, the Riddler, and King Tut. I love King Tut. So
Fan
it was
favourite. Getting 15 years in prison seemed very harsh. Did you not think?
It's Gotham Justice.
Yeah, he'll get out.
Yeah, they all get out the next week.
Yeah.
And obviously Catwoman's there again. And I love that bit at the end with the game show with them all on. I thought that was very Batman 66.
Yeah.
When I think about it now, and if I think about it in a year's time, it'll be that game show and the spinning wheel sequence at the end that sticks in my mind, whereas I don't think anything leading up to it was that exciting.
No, it's funny. It's the big set pieces that really stick in your mind, like the when they're attached to a giant coin that's going to catapult onto a bed of spikes. It's so outsized and also when they arrive at the winning pair casino place or whatever, and then there's a giant billiard table. This is one of the sort of slight niggles I have with it, in contrast with what we've had with Batman 66 and what we saw before. Because they turn up and I think Robin has a sign of like, look at the size of those balls. And it's to Burt Ward's credit is that he just plays that line completely straight with no irony. If anything, he's really just trying to sort of just go straight through the line. He never would have said that in the series. That innuendo didn't work like that. Things were sort of, maybe alluded to the beauty of a woman or adulthood, but it was all in very, very opaque terms. They had no the sort of double entendre coming out of Batman and Robin's mouth ain't right.
He would have said holy bat billiard balls or something like that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, holy billiards. But look at the size of those balls. It's like that. I could hear the writers all chuckling to themselves. Yeah. And Burt Ward, to his credit, just goes through the line completely straight. I was having this conversation the other day about when you can tell on audio if an actor's had to say a line that's got a double entendre. Often there's a bit you just get a little tension in their voice. There's just a little bit of tension as they're trying not to laugh or their awareness of it just changes the quality of their voice. And his doesn't at all. He just goes straight through the line with ease and doesn't take any notice of it, which I think is really good. But that was like I can hear the writers thinking they're funny, and that's not Batman 66. That's not how the humour worked in Batman 66.
I did like the resolution that they've got this cure to this virus that's turning everybody in the city into Two-Face. And they solve it by pelting bullets and bombs from aircraft at everybody. And it just cures them. There's no thought of the shrapnel from that bomb or bullet is going to tear through their heart or anything like that. And I thought that was quite a silly but fun Batman-ish idea.
It's no different to New Earth, is it? It's the same resolution as New Earth. I actually thought, to the credit, and I said it's sort of the exact same thing about the elephant. What does an elephant always do? Never forgets in Return to the Batcave, that the logic that they work out of everything they've come across having a duality, like Jekyll and Hyde, the double-decker bus, the biplane, implies that Two-Face is behind it all. I thought that was very tone perfect on Batman. So I thought that was something that both of them got right.
For the things they got wrong, there are actually plenty in here they got right. I mentioned Henchman earlier. Twin 1 and Twin 2, that was fantastic. I love Twin 1 and Twin 2. I like, with King Tut was brilliant, and I liked his Jack in the Box thing with these paper snakes with fangs attached. And I was like, that is completely the sort of cheap thing they do. One line that really made me laugh is that I think Harvey Dent said he was going to a charity for the Society for Underprivileged Fraternal Twins. And to which Bruce Wayne says, the stigma of being the less attractive twin is a heavy burden no one should have to bear. And I thought that was brilliant. That was my laugh out loud moment. And again, that's exactly what they'd have said in Batman 66.
What do we think of the recast? Because obviously Adam West, Burt Ward and Julie Newmar are there, but pretty much everybody else is a recast. They're the ones that they get right are the ones that they get wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Alfred's right, and Aunt Harriet's sort of right, but the character's a bit too much, but the performances are good. Commissioner Gordon's okay. Chief O'Hara is absolutely shocking. It is. He's trying to do an Irish accent, and it is straight up Caribbean. I don't know what he's going for.
I thought it was brilliant. As you say, it may not be exactly how you remember it. I don't think it's brilliant as a Chief O'Hara, but every time he came on the screen, he lit it up.
Are you actually because he was so bad? I don't get it.
Yeah, because he was so bad.
He was so bad, and also I start to get cross because I'm just like, I'm sorry, we're over here in this country trying to scratch money being audio actors out of nothing, and sometimes we do occasionally do very bad accents. But if you're getting paid that much in Hollywood to make a great big thing like that, and someone is turning out an Irish accent like that, which is by any standards lamentable, it's a big no from me, dog. I hate it.
Luke, what about you? The recast, do they work?
Yeah, all fine.
All fine. Would you accept a version of something like this where it was all recast, including the two leads?
I mean, I think actually when Luke made the point of like, oh, maybe it shouldn't be Adam West and Burt Ward, what are you talking about, man? But actually, I can see what he means, as in, if you're going to do it, it would be nice to do a version where it is kind of brand new and recast, and you found a really great, Burt Ward, Robin. So yeah, the answer is yes. But if you need to see Batman 66, just watch Batman 66 or that documentary you just watched. I sort of think the only reason for this to exist is Adam West and Burt Ward. I'm not sure. I feel less sure about this.
No, I agree with Conrad. It's like it all exists there in 66, and there's sort of a reason why it started to dwindle, because it's done, and it's done perfectly, and I don't think there's anything new to mine out of it even now, really.
Yeah, I suppose you are just ticking the boxes of like, they didn't do Two-Face, so let's do Two-Face and things like that. I mean, sure, you can do it for a couple of things, but
I'm not too sure what to do with Batman really now, even in film or whatever. And it's the same with Doctor Who. I'm not the guy that has the vision for it. I don't think.
No, that's fair enough.
Not that anyone was asking.
You're not the guy with the vision to it. Neither's the guy that was running Doctor Who.
I thought Luke was about to come up with the answer. I'm going to go, my God, that's brilliant. No,
hang on.
No, never mind. Come on, Luke, you've got it. I believe in you.
Maybe we take Batman and Doctor Who and just smash them together, see what happens.
Sorry, I'm not doing crossovers. I can't do crossovers. Sorry, no.
One day it'll happen.
A couple of things I like. I did appreciate, this was a really good joke. I thought, we're like, oh, we'll have to go to the abandoned sign factory. And they go there, and it's got a sign on it which says abandoned sign factory. That's fantastic. And, with the whole thing of labels in Batman, I think that was really good. And similarly, I really liked the, in the prison was labeled Female Super Crooks Row. I enjoyed that. I like the animation on Catwoman. I thought they did that lovely. I thought, she's just gorgeous in that cat suit, and she looks, all the curves are there. She's beautiful.
The opening titles, when the road...
You remarked on this.
Yeah, the road turns into the curves of Catwoman's arse. Amazing. I actually thought the credits was my favourite part of this, and not in like an ironic way, like I'm glad it's over. The credits were crazy, and they were brilliant. It had a jazzy Batman tune going on, and it had all the characters moving about 10 times quicker than they've moved in the past hour, all dancing. I thought it was bloody great.
Well, what do you think of the animation style in general, Luke? Because you're not a fan, are you?
It didn't grind on me. No.
Yeah.
I mean, it was better than Fury from the Deep.
I think they've got a bit more money for this.
Yeah. I don't hate animation styles, and I don't hate animation either.
You just find it hard to invest
in it hard to engage in it, yeah.
I thought the animation was really good. For something that is a fairly niche product, I think it's probably the highest standard you're going to get. I thought they captured the lightness as well, the angles well. I thought, it all works. What about you, Conrad?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like I said, I think I was much more impressed with it when I saw it the first time around. I was like, God, this is really good. And the turnarounds and the character art, the lightness is really good. Even William Shatner, I was like, oh my God, it made me remember the old Star Trek cartoon way back in the day. But the animation was very satisfying, seeing these really good turnarounds of everybody. So I really was impressed at the time. But again, since then I've seen the Batman animated series, and after you've seen that animated Batman, the standard is just so crazily amazing in that it's hard to, just the fact they animate the whole thing on instead of using white background for the artist to draw, and they make them all drawn black. So everything is given. It's just it's a work of art. So after that, I'm a bit like, yeah, it's okay. But it's just making me jonesing for the Batman animated series.
I think you're right. The Batman animated series, which I've not seen since I was a kid, but I can still see bits of episodes and images from it in my mind. And I don't think I'm walking away from this with loads of key iconography. So yeah, it was a perfectly serviceable bit of Batman 66 animated. There was never a point where I was like, oh, that character's too jerky, or I can't tell who that is, or oh, it's really flat because they can't afford to turn the character's head or anything like that. It all works really well. Whoever's behind this, if I wanted to see an animated version of any one of my favourite shows, I would love it if these guys did it. But I'm not coming back for 25 episodes of it at the same time.
I did like some of the dialogue, which I quite enjoyed, is, you know what they say, if you can't kill them in a horrible lab experiment, join them. I quite enjoyed that one. I enjoyed Batman slapped Robin at one point, recreating the Batman slapping Robin meme. Slap, that felt okay. Because again, it's funny how they can get away with some things and not others. That's a sort of pop culture reference. So it sort of works. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think that's okay. At one point, somebody levels the insult, your mother wears combat boots. I've not heard that. I thought Burt Ward did a really good job vocally in the two when he gets two-faced. I thought the contrast between his two voices, I thought was brilliant.
And more, like, after seeing these two and revisiting some Batman 66 this week, the TV series, I think as a kid, because you're like, well, it's Batman's story, that you're so into Batman. But Burt Ward is not the unsung hero, obviously, because that's not true. But I think I walked away from both of these with just a real appreciation of how good Burt Ward is. And I think he's like, he brings so much to the TV show, but so much to these two things. And he still sounds the same. He captures the performance, and he's still got, his voice is still the same. Or at least he manages to pitch it up a little bit to still sound the same. And bravo to Burt Ward.
And any other time, in any other Batman where they try and bring Robin in, it's just fucking infuriating. And yeah, Burt Ward makes it brilliant. Like, you just love watching them two together.
And as he's the voice of the audience, effectively, you know, he's the one that's got to ask Batman what's happening and working out the clues and express things, and things have to occur to him. Like, as an audience member, that level of enthusiasm and just drive and energy and zip for everything is just infectious. It makes you excited because he's your identification point, and he's the most energetic little pocket rocket in the world. I just adore him. I'm now going to hold up my Robin on the Bat Cycle thing that somebody bought me a couple of years ago.
Beautiful.
A beautiful toy of just Robin. I love Robin.
I think also because the series is so visually iconic and everybody knows what it looks like, it lends itself to merch as well in a way that other iterations of Batman, I'm sure if you're a kid and you've got your Robert Pattinson Batman or whatever, or a collector with the really articulated one, but those characters, they're so comic and cartoon-like in a way anyway, and so well realised that they just lend themselves to merchandising, and whether that's putting them on the cover of a diary or a tablecloth, or whether you've got an action figure, I just think every time I see a bit of Batman 66 merch, I'm like, I want it, but I don't buy it because I'll be poor. Do we have anything more we want to say?
It was nice to see the Bat Shield.
But actually, the Bat Shield's very, very cool. And when they use it in the TV show, it's actually incredibly cool. So I'm glad they put that in there. It's a very, very good scene with the Bat Shield. We love the Bat Shield.
That and the inside road of the Batcave. Have we ever seen that before? That is in this.
No, I don't think we have.
Excellent point. Yeah, that was really exciting. I was like, oh my God. This is so exciting. I've never seen the inside of it.
The actual journey from out of the Batcave outside. Yeah. I'd never seen that before anywhere.
That's a fan-pleasing moment, because obviously in the series, they're going from drive out of the set, the corner of the set, to cut to that road.
What are you talking about, man? It goes from the Batcave out to the back. It's a real thing.
We haven't mentioned the Batmobile in either of them, because I think it's a piece of iconography we're so used to seeing everywhere. Any Comic-Con you go to, there's a fucking 66 Batmobile. But it still looks fucking cool, whether it's animated or in the flesh in the other one. It's the
best one.
It's the coolest car ever.
Yeah, it's the best one.
It is the coolest car ever. And again, it was really nice in the previous one, the documentary, they sort of said that it was based on a 1955 Lincoln Futura or whatever. And it is just so... It's perfect. I'm really delighted to hear you say you can't improve on it, because I just don't think you can. It's so beautiful. The fire out of the back is incredible.
There are other iconic Batmobiles, but the 66 Batmobile is the best design.
I've got to say, this is really good, but there was a very, very... I was talking right back, when I was a kid, everyone had a Superman something, everyone had a Spider-Man something, everyone had a Batman something, and the thing everybody had was a Corgi metal car. Good news, they've just last year reissued it. Corgi have reissued a brand new, like beautiful one with all the features that they weren't allowed to put in the time. They're like, there's a little buzzsaw thing that comes out the back. There's rockets that fire. It's 39 quid and you can buy it now. And I'm just going to have to go out and buy it because it's beautiful.
I think I had one that must have been from a jumble sale or something like that when that was a thing.
Everyone had one.
Yeah.
They've been knocking around for years, yeah.
It would have been 20, 30 years old or whatever, made of lead. I was probably sucking on it and giving myself lead poison. But that's what childhood was all about, you know? Like, if at least one of your toys doesn't give you a condition later in life, then what's the point? What's the point? I went into these two things expecting to enjoy this animation more and actually to, as I mentioned, really not get on with the first one. I enjoyed them both, but the first one I think I will watch again at some point in my life. It'll be late one Friday night. I'm half a bottle of wine deep and I'll be like, I'll put that on. This, lovely to have. I will check out the other animation at some point, but I don't think it really added anything for me apart from ticking the Two-Face box and just seeing them play the roles one more time. But nice to have.
And it's a good, solid effort. I think, like I said, at the time, when I saw it first time around, I was like, oh, this is really good. But yeah, I think other things have sort of superseded it.
So we must rate it. Is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
I'd go average meander. Its heart's in the right place. It captures the era, but there's no real reason why it should exist. I think it's a fine way to pass an hour.
Yeah, I think I probably would have said banger at the time. I think some people will find it a banger, but I am more inclined in comparison when you see something like the other one, or something like the animated series. I think I'm going to sort of categorize it as an average meander.
It's another average meander for me. I think everybody puts in a lot of effort to make it, and I think it's a lot of fun, but I can only compare it back to back with these two things, and this just isn't as good as Return to the Batcave, but still well worth a watch if you're a fan.
Too hot for TV.
So, to wrap things up, I have two questions for you. Was it right to end the show when it ended? Was there room for more Batman 66, be it in the 60s or maybe brought back a few years later, something like that? I don't know. What do you think?
Despite being a huge Batman 66 fan, or maybe because I'm one, I think it was right. It's weird. Although it's poppy and cheap and should be easy to do, season 3 does get tired. It does start to feel just, I don't know why. It's hard to imagine it ever not, and it's always sort of fun, but it does run out of steam a bit, and bringing Batgirl was okay, but it does dilute it. So actually, I think it was right to finish it at the time.
I think there's a thing with American television of the time where they're going for that syndication thing. If you need 3 seasons of like 24 episodes or whatever it is, that sometimes there's a case of you see the same thing again and again and again over again, where actually, if it had ran for the whole of the 60s with the same number of episodes, by the end of the 60s, you would have gone, that's right. But 3 seasons sounds like a small amount of stuff, but it's not. There's loads of it there. I don't think it's something that you marathon and do loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of episodes, but whenever you jump in, you have a good time. So I think there's just enough of it. And, you know, the film they do as well is a lot of fun.
Yeah, like, I've still got, like, 80 episodes to watch, and I'm in no real rush to watch them. Like, you're right, it's just not something that I particularly want to marathon, and I feel like it's always there. It's not. It hasn't got that sort of Doctor Who thing in me where I just need to go and complete it now or watch it now, because they sort of all feel like quite the same. And that's the nice thing about it. But it doesn't really sort of renovate or move on, because it is a very 60s thing and a very sort of particular product. Yeah, like, it's impossible. To me, I just can't think of it ever being remade or redone in any sort of way. Not Batman 66. So yeah, it did end at the right time.
And I touched a bit on this at the beginning, but Luke, do you think there is room for a more comedic or at least more fun take on Batman now?
I'm not the man with the vision. I hope so. I don't know. You know, I can only really base it on like The Batman, because that's our most recent thing. But it does sort of feel strange. So you have like the Nolan trilogy, which is generally regarded as like, it knocked it out of the park, and that took Batman darker. So to then do DC Universe, where he's a bit miserable, and then do The Batman, where Bruce Wayne is effectively like a loner goth. It's sort of like waiting for that, for something a bit more fun. It maybe the Batman, the Robert Pattinson one, would be prime for having a Robin in it. Now that they've done the first one, maybe it would be prime for sort of unlocking him a bit with a Robin. Because I thought there was elements in there. Like Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman was great. And, I thought his Batman was great. I just didn't gel with his Bruce Wayne. I think that boils down to something I said very early on about it. The alter ego has got to be just as good as the superhero to really get on board with it. But yeah, I think it's hard, isn't it? As soon as they start to go silly, they just get absolutely panned in this day and age. And I think big companies are scared of that. But I think it needs it at some point. I think someone's got to be brave enough to do it, just a little bit.
I mean, things like Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that, and even the later Thor films veer more into comedy. So it can be done if you've got the right person in charge of it.
And I think people are always like, "Oh, Batman, it's gothic. He's the dark detective."
Yeah, it's really interesting because actually Batman 66 was obviously a huge, huge hit. But actually comic book fans, there was a big backlash against it. They hated it because, I mean, even back then there was no real comic culture like we have now. And so Batman 66 was really panned by the critics and the experts who loved the comic and thought this was too silly. And then, of course, it came back and it's like, okay, like I said, in 1989, the excitement was, it's going to be dark. And then when it starts to get comedic, totally slagged off. But it's been dark ever since. And I think then I have to believe there is some variety or some room for another tone of it. And when you look at Spider-Man and Into the Spider-Verse, they managed to do something that I don't like multiverse stuff at all in any format. I don't like multiverses. And yet what they did with that was completely unexpected. It was funny, but it was incredibly cool and really good. So I have to have hope that someone will find, people will always return to the story. It's an old detective noir story, but you have to hope that someone's got to do something good with it. But all Hollywood will generally stick to now is just dark because it sells.
I don't like animation, but what they did with those two Spider-Man films is brilliant. And there's definitely, fresh takes that can be done. It's completely new Spider-Man and yet all the Spider-Man at the same time. Yeah. Someone can do that with Batman.
Excellent. Well, this has been an absolute hoot to jump into the world of Batman 66 and find out what that expanded universe looked like. There are a few other things out there that, there's the Legend of the Superheroes, which I've seen a little bit of from the 70s. I'd love to see that one day. Who knows? Maybe I can tempt you back for that in the future, or maybe there's other shows we want to cover. But if people want to find you on the internet or on podcasts, Luke Molloy, where can they find you?
On 2 Hot for TV. I'm on Strangers in Space, Hamster with a Blunt Pen Knife. They're usually my 3 haunts.
Conrad, what about you?
Yeah, I'm part of the Trap One gang on the podcast front. But yeah, I'll do the odd 2 Hot for TV now and again, or the odd Flight for Entirety. But yeah, and you can find me on Blue Sky or anywhere at Hair of the Hound.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, as it helps people to find the pod. Look for 2 Hot for TV on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube at 2 Hot, 4 pod. That's 2 Hot, 4 pod for the latest updates and additional content. Next time, I'm going to be jumping into the expanded universe of Star Trek. But until then, I've been Dylan.
I've been Conrad.
And I've been Luke.
And this has been 2 Hot for TV.
Too hot for TV.
On my last Halloween costume, where I dressed up as Spider-Man, because I've always wanted to dress up as Spider-Man. So I dressed up as Spider-Man, and I kind of got the black, kind of quite a cool black Spidey outfit, which is quite cool. And I just wanted to just share this generally. Because in that first documentary, they show a lot about them getting into their costumes, which I very much enjoyed. And because it is so weird, they're such strange costumes, but just the experience of, you really don't have to put this in. The experience of wearing and putting on a sort of a second skin is really interesting. It's very
Yeah.
comfortable. It's very cold if it's October. I had to stuff a sock down there. Full disclosure, sorry. It's got to look right? It's got to look right. You don't want too much. It's just got to look right. But the weirdest thing was I realized, and this
started
was a
shooting
proper
webs. You started shooting webs.
You started shooting
everywhere.
something.
everywhere.
That sock is
covered.
full.
Oh my god! Okay, this is definitely not going in. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But here's the weird thing. Because they've got, this is a proper one where it's actually got soles in the feet. It's got proper. It's like walking in kind of fairly thin trainers, which is great because it means you're not wearing trainers. You've got the proper feet.
No, you wouldn't want to look ridiculous.
What's that?
You wouldn't want to look ridiculous.
No, not at all. But if I want to do it, you just do it properly.
Yeah, come in.
A couple of things. With the second I put my foot, they're weird to get into. But the second I put my foot into the shoe and pulled the sort of spidey thing over with it, my foot just looked like the shape of like the spider, like a superhero's animated foot. It kind of was like angular, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's weird." The really weird thing was though, I thought the soles of the feet are okay, but the vision's a bit odd because you kind of got. The suit was obviously fabric. Then you have a hard shell face. Then you put the thing over it. Then you got two holes for the eyes, and then you magnetize on the two white things, which are made of like a white lattice thing, so you can see through it. And the visibility is not bad. This is totally relevant now. Don't put this in. This is exciting. And I thought, it's going to be too difficult. I can't go to a club or a bar or anything, so I'm just going to go for a walk around the streets of Birmingham and just see what happens. It was Halloween, so I'm like, if there's any, I've always wanted to do this. So if any night you can do it, I'm going to do this. So I only walked around the block a couple of times, and what happened was completely extraordinary. Everybody is extremely happy to see Spidey. Everybody is shouting. So there's a bang on the window next to me. These blokes in the pub are just banging on the window going, "Hey, hey," and they love it. Like huge gangs of scary looking blokes coming towards you. And the second they see you, and you're basically mincing down the street, basically naked. Like it's very exposing. You sort of feel like you're naked in a way. But like they were just delighted. And everyone was, and the way people were shouting out to you and calling out, not in a derisory way, they were all so happy to see you. I remember I just had the experience. No one talks to me like that. So I was like, it made me just go, God, whoever this guy is, people really like him. I reckon, I think everyone should try it once, to try dressing up as a superhero character of some sort. It makes you feel totally different. It was really exciting. The only thing is, the one advantage was I got in and I was just like, do you know what? It's great because I took the mask off. I was like, I'm ready for bed. I'm basically wearing a onesie. So this is great. Very cozy to sleep in. Highly recommend it. 3 a.m, when you need to get up for the loo, 2 things. Switch on the hotel mirror and you're like, oh my fucking Christ, it's Spider-Man with your head on. You're like, and you've got Spidey hands and it's really weird. And then you go, oh, time for go to a pee. And you're like, and you realise you have to unzip yourself to try and have a pee. So there you go. I thought I'd just give you that. You can put that in or not.
Right, that's it.
I just wanted to share
next
it.
Halloween, I'm walking the streets dressed as Cariz, and I can't wait to see the people that come up, smiling, saying hello.
It does show. Do you know what? I did see, bless him, there was one kid who cosplayed as that. With his face, he had all this stuff in his face and everything. There's one kid who did, bless him. But yeah, to be honest, if anything, it just shows you the difference between everyday you and it was, I can't, it's really, I think I just described it as best I could, but it wasn't just people going, hey. People were really happy. They were so excited. Blokes particularly, they just forgot themselves completely. So, hey, Spider-Man, and you had to just go like this and all like that, and they just loved it. I was just like, do you know what? I think I'm going to get a sort of classic. See, I've got one here. I've got one of these. I might get myself a classic, one of those. And anytime you're feeling depressed or sad, I'll just put that on. And also, that was at night, just around the blocks. There weren't even any freaking kids around. So I was like, if you like. It's nuts. So I just think I might just get one of those outfits. But next year, basically, I'm going to try. I'll just have to find a boy Maybe Luke, you could be a Robin. Who knows? But I'd like to.
You would make a good Robin.
Spider-Man and Robin. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's right. That's exactly right. That's just what I was thinking. Well done. Yeah, no, I've got once in my life. I've got to try dressing up as.
I would make a good Robin, actually. I've got a fancy
You-
dress party coming up in May, and
And a
not
massive
tall-
penis.
How tall are you? How tall are you?
5'10".
5 something's great. 5 something's great.
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot something. I could go for. But I've got to do Batman 66.
Yeah,
I've got
that's
to
be
dress up that.
66. Well, I'm not going to go as the Clooney Robin, am I? Well,
It
yeah.
depends what kind of party. Depends what kind of party it is.
I'll
Anyway,
come as.
that
I'll
was
come
a
as
really long slide up. I'm really sorry. Can you just? You might need to get back on track. I'm so sorry.
That'll be the post credits thing. I'll show up. I'll show up as Mr. Freeze, I think.
Let's kick some ice.
Do you know what? You'd be really good as Mr. Freeze. You'd do the whole character as well. It'd be brilliant.
I could do a Freeze. I'm too tall to be the Penguin.
Can you do
know?
Mr. Freeze for your wedding?
Yes, I will. I'm struggling to find what to wear, so that could be the answer.
Yeah, it's poison ivy or something.
She said it's got to be a suit. She didn't say it couldn't be a bat suit.
There we go. I'm really sorry, Dylan. That little anecdote has just completely derailed the whole thing. Should we just get back on track to Rackle?
I mean, look, there isn't much more to say.
No, I had one more note, which was it was nice to see
really
the Bat
sorry.
Shield.
So we'll say it properly. Let's do it now.
It was
do
nice
we
to
have-
see the Bat Shield.
I was going to say, do we have anything more we want to say?
Let's do it now.
Has
Let me take a quick
has anybody seen the Bat Shield recently?
It was nice to see the Bat Shield in this Two-Face animation that we watched.